Hey kids, I'm having a really off day, so I apologize if this video is lacking in certain departments. I'm not 100%, and I'm really annoyed because this house is so fucking loud. I turned off the TV and it's back on. It's been like 5 minutes. I just can't get away from the sound, and so I apologize because I'm out here. There's people hammering and sawing shit. I really can't help it because it's actually not as loud out here as it is inside. And like, the TV's on and no one's watching it. What the fuck? So I got my mycelium in the mail, and I said I was going to seed my mushrooms, make some oyster mushrooms, but I'm a forgetful motherfucker, and I forgot the things that I need to get to make that happen. So that's not gonna happen in this video. I'm gonna do an LGBT video for Pride Month because I said I was going to do it, and it's not going to be a gender tag. My last gender tag video was ass. I apologize for that. It was terrible. Not the information was alright, but the video itself, like, I don't even like looking at it. I fucking cringe every time I see it. So what I would like to talk about in this video is the Kinsey scale. The Kinsey scale of attraction is a scale of attraction. On one side you have heterosexual, it's delineated with the number 0. On the other side you have homosexual, it's delineated with the number 6. In the middle you have kind of no preference for sex, and it is sex, it's not gender, it's based on sex and attraction to sex and sexuality. And asexuality is delineated with the letter X. It's literally just no sexual reaction or response, I think. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but it's just an X. There's no mention of romanticism, there's no mention of gender, there's no mention of attraction to people regardless of gender. So there's a lot of people that are attracted to traits rather than, you know, the gender or sex itself. So people like, you know, masculinity or femininity or androgyny. And the Kinsey scale is not good for that. If you're a person that's, you know, attracted to people regardless of gender, and you're more looking for the traits rather than the sex or gender. However, there is a new scale that's kind of a modification of the Kinsey scale, and it's called the purple-red scale of attraction, and it's credited to Langdon Parks. It's taking steps in the right direction. The Kinsey scale is just fucking archaic. It's not useful really at all, and the purple-red scale is slightly more useful, I would say. Here it is. So the way that it works is attraction and orientation, and you kind of combine your letters and numbers depending on the type of attraction you experience and the orientation that you have. The Kinsey scale is just orientation purely, and it's just referring to sex. Purple-red scale goes from asexual to hypersexual, and then it has the same numbers for the Kinsey scale. So it just added the component of attraction along with orientation. So truly, I think in my heart of hearts, I would say that I'm between an A and a B4. And A stands for asexual romantic, and B is romantic asexual, and 4 is a slight preference for the same gender or same sex. But as far as platonic, aesthetic, sensual, romantic attraction goes, I am attracted to, you know, people that are gender non-conforming, non-binary people, like feminine men, masculine women. I just people like similar to myself, and so it doesn't really take that into account. And I mean, I can't tell you with the letters and numbers from this chart, but I could tell you just with my words. I could just express it to you verbally. So that would be a suggestion for me to include different attractions to traits rather than gender or sex. And so when I said truly that I was between A and B4, what I mean is, outside of the confines of my relationship within myself personally, I am between A and B4, but sex is kind of put on this pedestal. There's a lot of pressure to have sex, to be a sexual being. And so a lot of relationships that I've entered have been not necessarily predicated on the thought that we're going to have sex, but I mean, there's a safe assumption that sex is going to be a part of the equation at some point. And so I don't know, you kind of just make compromises depending on the kind of person you are. And I would consider myself a C within my relationship, so tertiary, and that's a person that would, you know, have sex for the pleasure of their partner or to have kids, but I'm not necessarily interested in sex at all. Like, ideally, I would never have sex, to be honest. But for the sake of compromise, for the sake of my sanity, I've decided to, you know, sacrifice a little bit of my integrity as far as my sexual attitudes and stuff goes. I apologize, guys. I actually had to come inside because my camera overheated, because it's fucking hot outside, and it's also hot inside. It's actually hotter inside than it is outside, but the sun was shining on my camera, and so it caused it to overheat, and because it's black, it absorbs, you know, it absorbs light and all that shit. But I turned off one of the TVs so it's not as loud. The other TV is back on, so I'm just not gonna be able to control that. But what I was saying, I am tertiary as a sacrifice, I guess, on my part for my partner, and he also sacrifices a bit of his sexual well-being as well, and has sex way less often than he would like to have sex. And so the reason why I plot myself in two different spots based on, you know, whether I'm in a relationship or based on just my personal views, like, you know, within myself of my identity, is because, I don't know, it's the discovery of sexuality within a relationship. And so when I met my fiance, he was the first person that I ever had sex with, and it was actually a really enjoyable, really interesting experience when it was new, but it lost a lot of its appeal very quickly, very succinctly. And at the moment, I'm mostly ambivalent, but when I'm sex repulsed, I am very, very fucking sex repulsed. Like, fuck this shit hard with something serrated and very sharp. Like, I fucking hate it. But across the board, you know, regardless of gender, regardless of whether I think a person's attractive or not, regardless of how much I know someone, I'm just not particularly interested in sex at all. Like, what did I say last year? I likened it to being at the DMV. Like, I've decided to subject myself to this monotony, to this drudgery, to this tiresome fucking act. But, you know, I'd rather not be doing it. I'd rather not be here. But in order to maintain the health of my relationship, it's something that I have decided to compromise on. So yeah, that's been my spiel about the Kinsey scale and the purple-red scale of attraction. I do think it's really cool that the purple-red scale includes someone's sexual attraction not necessarily lining up exactly with their behavior with tertiary, and it also includes aromanticism and some biromanticism a little bit. But I do think that it is not entirely inclusive. It's a really good step in the right direction, but it's not as inclusive as you know, ideally it could be. So take a look at the scale. Let me know what your numbers and letters are, and what kind of, I guess, suggestions you would have, what things are lacking, what things are, you know, an improvement from the Kinsey scale. Let me know, because I'm interested in knowing. I know I don't know everything, and so it's interesting to have input and perspectives from other people. The idea of attraction, you know, sexual, platonic, romantic, sensual, all those things, all of the above. They're all very, very interesting, and they're always evolving, and our ideas of them are always evolving. And so the metrics that we use in order to quantify how we are experiencing certain types of attraction, they're ever evolving. So while the purple-red scale and the Kinsey scale aren't entirely inclusive, I do think they are really good stepping stones in understanding attraction. So with that, I will bid you all adieu. I'm going to probably work out, because I am I'm feeling blah. I'll talk to y'all later.